Before I posted a single real video on YouTube, I came to a very logical conclusion. I needed to build a professional media empire. I was going to host a multicam video podcast. I was going to do high-end tech reviews. Heck, I was even going to do cinematic talking head videos like this one. I was basically going to be Netflix, but like from my house. Naturally, I couldn't just start with a phone. No, I bought two Sony ZVE10 cameras, multiple lenses, two giant soft box lights that take up half a room, a DJI Action 4, a Pocket 3, ... And I bought like 8 to 10 microphones, I think, just to make sure I had the right one. I bought a Shure SM7b, an Electro Voice Dynacaster, an AKG P170 small diaphragm condenser microphone, a Samsung Q9U, a Fifine microphone, a Movo shotgun mic, cheap lavaliers. I even bought 4 different desk mic arms because, apparently my microphones needed to have like a wardrobe just in case they're hanging out. Let's face it, you're not legit on YouTube unless you have a Shure SM7b framed up in your shot, right? Not. You see, this is a gear trap. The Shure SM7b microphone is special, but it sure ain't gonna help you grab any subscribers. I also built a makeshift vocal booth in my closet just in case I decided to do voiceovers. And I converted my basement rec room into a full podcast studio. Yes. And today, I'm going to tell you why that was one of the dumbest, most expensive things I've ever done. So, how's the media recording empire going, you ask? Well, let's look at the data. I've recorded exactly 1 podcast in my basement studio. And that vocal booth I built, I've recorded at least 2 voiceovers in there. The Sonys, I haven't used them enough to justify the price to buy the boxes that they were shipped in. Thanks, Amazon. It turns out setting up a 2-camera angle, audio synced, color graded, multicam podcast is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It takes a lot of time. And that's time I didn't really want to spend. The piece of gear that I used the most, the piece of gear that I loved using, and it was easy, cheap, I got it used on Amazon for only $150, was the DJI Action 4. Because it's tiny, it works, and it didn't require a PhD in cinematography to turn it on. So let's recap the math. Thousands of dollars right out the door, right? But wait, it gets better. Around the same time that I started buying gear, I got interested in another hobby, which was investing. And I bought shares in Google. The company that owns YouTube? So let's see, which one do you think has been a more profitable venture? Was it my budding career as a on-camera auteur? Or just passively owning the company that hosts my unwatched videos? Spoiler alert, it was the stock, like by a mile, like a huge mile. I've made vastly more money just letting Alphabet exist than I have actually making content for them. I'm literally funding my own viewer deficit. But the real madness started with the audio. Yeah, I spent like weeks of my life trapped in the microphone rabbit hole. I was swapping cables, testing proximity effect, getting the microphones on the microphone stand, noticing how my small diaphragm condenser microphone could pick up the kids across the street in their pool. I was basically trying to do studio level recording for some videos that nobody had watched yet. Now, after all that testing and screwing around with all the microphones, it was fun, but nonetheless, I was wasting time. And after testing everything from high-end studio staples to specialized shotgun mics, do you want to guess which one sounded the best and was the easiest for me to use in my room? The Behringer XM8500. It requires 0 setup and it sounds fantastic. I A/B'd this thing against a Shure SM58. Played back the audio for my wife and she couldn't tell the difference. And if she couldn't tell the difference, You ain't gonna be able to tell the difference listening to this on compressed audio in YouTube. This guy, 20 bucks. Now looking back, I can laugh about all of this. But there's actually like a sneaky psychological trap that I fell into. It's called productive procrastination. Productive procrastination is when you do things that feel like work, look like work, and cost money, just like work, but are actually just a clever way to avoid doing the real scary thing. And let's face it, making your first YouTube video is definitely a real scary thing. I didn't want to face the vulnerability of having to sit down here and press record and then see if any of my ideas were actually good. So instead, I bought a Shure SM7b. You know why? Because a guy with a Shure SM7b looks like he knows what he's doing, right? This is a classic case of GAS. No, not gas. Gear Acquisition Syndrome. See, we convince ourselves sometimes that our creativity is somehow locked behind a paywall. If I just get that Sigma f1.4 lens, then my content will be amazing, just like everybody else on YouTube. You see, this is the financial peak of productive procrastination. I was buying Sony cameras and high-end audio interfaces and extensively giving my money right back to the tech companies, while my Alphabet stock was actually doing quite well and doing all the heavy lifting in the background. I was treating YouTube like a casino where I buy the most expensive slot machine, look at it, and then go buy shares in the casino instead. Great investment strategy, terrible content strategy. I spent weeks testing those microphones in secret. My wife saw me. She saw what I was doing. She thought it was weird. You know what I should have done? I know what you're thinking. I could have just recorded my raw, messy impressions of each microphone and made like 10 separate videos. I spent weeks testing those microphones in secret. I would have actually been a content creator. This entire video, every single frame that you've seen has been shot on my iPhone 14. This is the camera I had in my pocket when I was buying all of this camera gear and microphones. I spent thousands of dollars when I could have just used my phone the whole time. The audio? You're not hearing a Shure SM7b or a fancy audio interface. Nope. This is the microphone that came with the camera that I use the most, the Action 4. No professional audio suite, and it sounds great. Well, for studio lights, I was going to use the sun. However, my next door neighbor decided to start cutting his grass, so recording when the sun was out was not going to be an option today. However, I did have that panel light that I bought, so I set it up, turned it on, diffused it, and here we go. You don't need a panel light, but they are pretty cheap if you get them on sale on Amazon, especially during Prime days. You can sit by the window though, as long as your neighbor's not cutting his grass, because the sun is free. So here's my challenge to you. Where are you productively procrastinating in your own life? Are you waiting for a better mic? Are you waiting to get that fancy camera? Stop getting ready to get ready. It's a trap. Take the phone out of your pocket, sit in front of the window, and press record. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, so please let me know what you think about productive procrastination. It's something I do all the time, and I'm working on getting better at it. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one, where I actually use my fancy camera.